Hi, this is Hannah Holliday again, and for my English 153 blog, number 4, I'm going to be focusing on one passage of Audre Lorde's Zami, A New Spelling of My Name. Before I read the passage, I'm just going to state my argument. I'm arguing that the women in Audre Lorde's book serve as an introduction to the second wave of the feminist movement that later took over in the 1960s. And this matters because without Lorde's openness with her friends and lovers described in this book, the expansion of this new wave of feminism wouldn't be the same today. The passage that I'm looking at today that supports my argument is on page 121, and to just give a little background context, Audre has been allowing the Branded to stay at her tenement apartment for a while now, and one girl has run away to California, and the FBI show up at her door. So the passage reads, "All of my friends knew we were a menace to the status quo, and defined our rebellions as such. Scientists had broken the code of Linear B, enabling them to read ancient Minoan script. The day before the FBI agent stood in my doorway, Eva Peron had died in Argentina, but somehow we were a threat to the civilized world." So if we look purely at the diction and word choice, it is evident that Lorde believes these meetings of the Branded are thought to be not accepted by people like her mother, and others in normal contemporary society of this time. And this is not surprising considering the girls are always dressed in very thin slip fabrics and kind of laying sprawled out on a mattress all together. This kind of gives a very sexual and almost orgy-like scene in the book that I don't think society would have probably been very comfortable with at this time. Also, just digging a little bit into the context of what Lorde says in this passage, she brings up two kind of historical significant examples. She discusses first how scientists had broken the code of Linear B, and I did do more research on this and found that Linear B is a syllabic script used in the earliest attested form of Mayacian Greek writing. It's pretty interesting too because the website that I found the information on said that it was only possible for this script to be used by a guild of professional scribes who served in the central palaces at the time. So once the palaces were destroyed, the script disappeared. And I think that's a significant kind of example here because I think this also relates to feminism in the sense that these women at the time were a group that were so close that without them and without kind of each other supporting each other's thoughts and everyone kind of meeting the Branded and with Lorde and everyone kind of involved, then this whole idea of feminism and just mutual female support would have been destroyed because these relationships opened this up. And it took a group of young women who also, there were forms of intersectionality among them, kind of came together and pushed those aside and just kind of listened to each other. It took that for this whole feminism ideas to kind of expand. Another thing I want to focus on in the passage is Eva Peron. It said that she had died in Argentina, and after some research, I found that she ran Argentina's first large-scale female political party and also was an advocate for women's suffrage. So clearly she's a feminist figure, and Lorde is bringing her up, saying her death was obviously a pretty significant thing at this time. I think it's also important to note that similar to Lorde, Peron had left home fairly young at the age of 15, whereas Lorde left home at the ripe age of 17. So they're both kind of young women who had to be on their own. Both were also fairly poor. Peron lived in poverty, but Lorde has spent a good portion of her young adult life poor, which we kind of learn in this section. So clearly Lorde uses these examples of pop culture, one being a feminist, to show how her group of friends were so little of a threat compared to the strong feminist character of the time. She also chooses to italicize the term we, which Lorde clearly is referring to herself in the Branded as, which kind of also shows that they're a cohesive group. They're not just individuals, they're all working together. And even though they were harmless, these meetings went against societal norms and clearly she thought that the FBI would consider them a threat to the civilized world. And a lot of the things that they were doing were very much, like I said before, against societal norms. I don't think at this time lesbianism was very much accepted, and clearly these practices and these conversations and just the setting of these meetings and the characteristics of the woman in general wouldn't have been accepted by society. But it just opens the door to prove that these lovers and friends of Lorde's at this time helped her feel comfortable about who she was and who she was as a woman, and she was able to open up on that platform. And I really think that kind of inspired her future feminism that we'll see throughout the book.